going to show you how to make a chair. The chair is going to have some carved out legs and a back of the seat and that kind of stuff, and it's going to show you some new functions inside of SketchUp that will let you make better, cooler stuff. So I'm going to eliminate Derek here by deleting him. I'm going to use the rectangle tool, and I'm going to start at the origin, click, and there's no specific measurements in this assignment, so I'm just going to make something that's roughly well, actually I have a thing that tells me that it's a square here. I'm going to click that there, and I'm going to push-pull this up, and what I'm trying to do is show the thickness of like the part you sit on a chair, on the seat. Now, the tricky part about SketchUp is if you select part of this, like the top part, and I'm just showing you this, if you click and move this, it's going to distort that. You can see that it skews the seat all over the place. So I'm just going to hit escape so that I don't do that. What we need to do is tell the program that this whole chunk, this whole block, is one object altogether, and that's called making a group. So I'm going to click on the select tool, and on your keyboard, if you hold down the control key, it's on the bottom near the space bar. If you hold down the control key, it's under shift actually, hold down the control key and then click the surface on the top. There's a way you can select multiple areas. So what we want to do for this one is we want to do select all connected. Okay, there's nothing else on the screen but this, and just to make sure, it should turn everything blue including the bottom. Great. And so now we're going to use the pointer again, the black arrow, and I'm going to control click again, and I'm going to say select. Oh, we already did select. We're going to do make group. Okay, and what that should do now, just to show you the difference, if I use the move tool, if I grab it, it's going to move the whole thing. Okay, but you don't have to do that. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to make the legs. So I'm going to spin orbit up underneath here, okay? And from up underneath here, I'm going to draw a square for one of the legs. I'm going to start in one of the corners, like here, and I'm going to click and drag a pretty decent sized chunk like this, okay? Now, this is not blue, which means it's not part of the group we just made. This is a new object, and that's fine. So I'm going to make this a group and do something else to it. Okay, so I'm going to select with the black arrow. I'm going to click in the middle. I'm going to hold down Control key and click, which if you're using a mouse is like a right click. And I'm going to do select. This time I'm going to say with bounding edges, and that will take just the outer areas here. Okay, I am now going to control click in the middle of that one more time and make it a group, and I lied, a third time we're going to do it, control click, and this time we're going to say make component. So a group treats objects like puts them all together in one chunk, and make component makes it so that you can actually make direct copies of each other, and I'll show you what that means, because we're going to make 4 legs for this chair, but we want the legs to be exactly the same. We don't want them to be different heights and different shapes. We want them to be the same. So this is going to kind of like clone things for us. Alright, I'm going to grab the move tool. I'm going to make sure first that my chair leg here is selected. I'm going to click on the move tool. Then I'm going to zoom in a little bit and grab it by the corner over here. I'm going to click. I'm going to start moving it, but I'm going to tap on the Option key on my keyboard to get a plus sign. Okay, and that lets me make a copy. I'm going to move that over here and place it. And do the same thing until I have 4 legs. And I'm going to zoom in so I don't accidentally use the wrong thing here. Okay. Alright, actually that probably can move over just a smidgen. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now, if it's not already turned on like mine was, you can do this. Go to View, Tool Palettes, Large Tool Set, and get your large tool set up on the screen. Now, when you make something a component or a group, you kind of lock it so that it's all kind of stuck together, which is what you want. But when you want to make changes to it, you can't just, like, if I grab this push-pull tool and grab here, see how there's a a no sign on my push-pull. That means it's locked. So what I need to do is select it twice, and double click on it. And now you get this kind of window. This is the component editing window, like this. And it will let you make changes. Now, because I made this a component, when I push-pull the leg, and I made copies of that component, you see how they're all coming down together. Okay? So put it down far enough so that it looks like the legs that you want on your chair. Okay? Looks nice. Alright, so I'm going to move it into the center here because I get a little bit off center. Alright, now I'm going to carve up this leg so that it has some neat kind of shapes coming out of it. The thing I want you to think about is when we're carving this leg up, it's going to be carved from 4 directions. So we don't want to make big shapes in this leg that we're going to do. So I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to click my pencil tool. Make sure you have the dotted line still around yours. Okay, take your pencil tool, and I'm going to start out here on the chair edge. Okay, I'm going to click here. I do not want to go more than the midpoint. I don't even want to come close to that midpoint. Okay, so you may have to zoom in order to keep the program from snapping all the way over there. And I'm just going to make like a rectangular cutout. Okay, a rectangular shape there, and I did it for all 4 of my chair legs. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this with one shape, and then you'll repeat the same steps for another shape. So I'm going to orbit so that I'm looking at the bottom of the chair leg down here, the square. Okay, and you might have to kind of adjust your screen just right to get this. Okay, all right. So, and you don't have to be able to see up here to do this. So let me just go down here. I'm going to use the black arrow to select something. I want to select all 4 of the lines on the bottom of the chair leg because those are the direction that I'm going to carve in. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard, and then I'm going to click just the 4 lines on the bottom. See how they turn blue here that make up the bottom. If I accidentally click the bottom itself, you don't have to freak out and start over. You can just click it a second time and it will deselect it. It's the same thing with this line here if I just wanted those. Okay. Alright, so now I can let go of Shift, okay, and come back up to this shape again that I made. Okay. There is a button over here. It looks like, I don't know, like a revolving red arrow. Okay. It's underneath the push-pull. It's called Follow Me. I'm going to click on that. Okay. And then all I have to do, now that I've selected those lines down below, it already knows which direction I want it to follow. So I'm just going to hover over this area that's shaded and click it, and you get a nice carved out shape here. Okay? So I'm going to ask that you use like the 2-point arc maybe, and maybe click here and click down there and then head to the right and maybe carve out a shape like that. You can get kind of creative and do maybe a triangular shape. Okay, again, you might have to zoom in and zoom out to get it. The trick is each time you cut out a shape, each time you go to cut out a shape, you have to return back down here and select these 4 lines. So again, Shift and whoops, Shift and click here, click here, click here, and click here, and then do Follow Me, and then do up here. Okay, or if I try to do this next one, you see it's not going to let me because I need to, again, select this. If you want to get super fancy, it's up to you. If you want to get super fancy, you can also use the Follow Me tool to add, instead of carving away, you can use it to add stuff. So I'm going to go 2-point arc just to show you. I'm going to go along this edge again, and I'm going to pull out in, I need to kind of spin here so that it does what I want. I'm going to just pull out in this direction just a little bit, like this, okay? And I could use the Follow Me tool in exactly the same way to add something to this instead of carve it away. So I'm going to use the Shift key, boom, 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 okay? And so then I would do Follow Me, and then I would do this, and it would add it to the outside instead of carving it up, okay? So take a minute, pause the video, do that, make some nice shapes here, okay? And then we'll come to the top. All right, so now we're ready to work on the top of the chair. So what we have to do is get out of this component editor this dashed line. So I'm going to click on the black arrow. I'm going to click over to the side somewhere, and you can see we're back to our regular kind of drawing screen. Okay. What I'm going to do is I want to make the back of the chair rounded. Okay. So I'm going to click on the seat 2 times so that we can edit the seat, and I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to click and move us over so that we're looking at the top. Okay. I'm going to use the 2-point arc tool here to go from one edge along the back here. So this is the front of the chair over here. This is the back of the chair over here. This is the edge we just pulled out. So making sure that I'm at least past where my leg is underneath, I'm going to click on this little edge right here and go straight across over here. Okay, and then I'm going to head towards the back of the chair this way. Okay, and I'm going to actually click it so it's on the edge. And now I can use push-pull to delete this area here. Okay, so we have a nice rounded back of the chair. Now I'm going to select and click off to the side so that I am no longer editing the seat part of the chair, but we're going to make the back of the chair because now we have kind of a stool, but we don't have a back of the chair. So to make the back of the chair, we're going to need some circles that are going to be like dowels on the back of the chair, and we want to go back towards this corner here, click someplace to put the center, and a circle maybe like about that big is probably good. Okay, and then I'm going to push-pull. Well, actually, let's make that a group and a component first because we're going to make multiple copies of that. So I'm going to click in the middle of that circle. I'm going to Control-click. I'm going to say Select Bounding Edges. Okay. I'm going to Control-click a second time, and I'm going to say Make Group. I'm going to Control-click a third time and Make Component. Okay. So now it's a component, and if I double-click it, I can edit it just like this. Okay. And but I don't actually need to do that yet, so I probably should. Well, no, I'll do that. I'm gonna pull it up because these are gonna be the back of the chair that you rest your back against. Okay, so pull it up to a height that makes sense for the chair that you're making. Okay, that's up to you. All right, and then I'm gonna click the Select tool and click out on the side. So we have this here. Okay. Now, if you remember the schoolhouse, we actually made copies of an object, like a window, in a line. This one, if you look at the back of most chairs, they're not actually straight. They actually kind of come out like a curve, like the back of this does. So we're going to make copies in a curve. And the way you do that is you use the Rotate tool, but it's a little tricky. So follow through the steps here and you'll be okay. So I'm going to click on the Select tool. I'm going to click on the component we just made, that chair back cylinder. Then I'm going to choose this button. It's the Rotate button. Okay, it's 2 circles pointing, 2 arrows pointing in a circle at each other. And it's really important here that you see how my tool here is blue. You want it to be blue. If I end up going on this side, it turns to red. Okay, and then I could go on another side, it turns black or green. We really want it to be blue for this particular thing we're doing. You want to line up on the midpoint of the front of the chair seat. So right here where I am. And I'm going to click. Okay, and now I want to click on the base of this component, the chair back cylinder, and then you can see that I can move it, and it's moving in a curve. Okay, it's not really a straight line, it's curving. I'm going to tap the Option key, and then I'm going to place one on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to do like 5/Enter. Okay, and that should create the copies that you need. If yours didn't do that, skip back in the video and carefully look at the steps because there's a lot of little steps there. Okay, so we have this nice chair back. Well, now we need a headrest. Okay, so I'm going to make the headrest shape on the seat and pull it up there. Okay, move it up there to top it off. So I'm going to double click here. Okay, because we're going to edit the seat. I'm going to use the 2-point arc tool again. And I'm going to get not too close to these cylinders because I don't want to hit those cylinders. But I'm going to come out on this edge here and draw a straight line this way. Okay, and then I'm going to go, I don't know, maybe there's good. Okay, all right, and so that's the kind of shape of my headrest. It's going to end up here. Okay, I'm going to use the Select tool, and I'm going to click in the middle of that, so that's shaded just like this. Okay. Then I'm going to use the Move tool, and I'm going to click in the middle of this shape, and then hopefully I can move it around the screen. As you can see, whoa, that's going to be a little crazy, right? So I need to tap on the Option key to make a copy of that. Okay. And then I'm trying to move straight up. Do you see how mine snapped on the blue axis? If yours does not do that, tap on your up arrow one time on your keyboard, and then try to move it around, and then it should lock into place. Like mine won't let me move to the side if I do that. Okay, and you want to place this, and it should snap into place. You want to place this on the top. Okay, and then all that's left for you to do is push pull, and I'm going to grab this area and pull it up, and it will cover up our little holes. And I'm just going to erase this little line down here because I no longer need that line. Okay, and now if I click and then click off to the side, you can see that I have made this chair. Okay. Now, you could make a chair, you can make a table, you could make a bench. So for this is what I'm looking for the 3. It's something like this, where you follow my directions and go through and make a chair with carved out legs and a back like this. What I would like you to do for the 4 is to make a second chair or a bench or something along those lines with this kind of carving involved. And a back and that kind of stuff. And then I will show you in just a second how to 3D print that. Okay. So if you're done, because you just want the 3, then you can stop now. But if you'd like to continue for the 4, this is what we're going to do. Okay. So for the 4, you're going to make your own chair. I'm not going to show you how to do that because I did it over here. But what I am going to show you is how you send this out to the 3D printer. Okay. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to make sure I save it. Okay. Just call it chair. Okay. And I'm going to go to File, Export, and you should have an option for 3D model. Okay. Export 3D model. You're going to click there. It's going to ask you what format. Way down here, your window probably looks more like this. Okay. Save as chair. That's fine. I would put your name on it though, and then make sure you're saving it to the desktop so you can find it. Okay. And it's important that your format here says OBJ. It's probably set for 3DS, but our printer does not read that, so you need OBJ. Okay. And then click Export. Okay. And it'll take a second to export it. Give you a message about how many faces and lines and groups and stuff you made in your object. Okay, and then if we get all of this stuff out of the way, we can see somewhere on my desktop is a file called chair.obj. Hopefully on your computer you have a program called MakerBot Makerware. It's probably a red box with a white M inside of it, but just try this for me. Just double click that OBJ file, and if MakerBot Makerware is installed on your computer, it should open. Okay, yours may not look quite the same as my window, but it's going to look kind of similar. You probably have a message that says your object is too large, and so it wants you to scale. So I'm going to click Scale to Fit. Okay, and this is, and you can click and drag around, this is what your chair looks like on the 3D printer. Okay, so the 3D printer sees it this way. Now this is actually, doesn't look very big, but this is actually huge. So you're going to need to scale it down. I'm going to click Scale 2 times, and there's a percentage here. Scale to what percentage? So I'm going to say, let's scale it to 20%. It's probably good. I'm going to hit Enter. Okay, now that looks really small, but trust me, it will, it will take far less time. Okay. Now my chair happened to come through and face exactly the way I wanted to, because when you're building with a 3D printer, you can't have things hanging in the middle of the air. Okay, so see these legs up here. They can't just hang in the middle of the air because you can't just like drip plastic. There's gravity, so there's going to be plastic coming here. So the machine is going to have to build for you what's called supports, which are these little thin layers of plastic that you can clip away with some scissors or something like that. So you'll want to lay your chair down this way. So to do that, if you click on Turn, you might have to click twice. Use some of these, either X plus 90 or minus 90 or Y plus 90 or minus 90, and just click on them, and it will rotate your chair around various ways. Okay. And so the way that I'm hoping is that the back of your chair and some of your legs are flat, or as flat as you can do. There's a button here that says Lay Flat. You can click that to make sure your chair is actually laying flat. Okay. And if you want to look at your chair again, click Look, and then spin around, take a look at it. Okay, and then if you so then you can now bring it over to the 3D printer, and I will personally assist you with that part because there's some things that you have to do to get the printer warmed up. But then you should be able to 3D print your chair for the form. All right, so this is your second chair, not your first chair. All right, good luck.